also remember running through Washington, having cops after me and running through this DuPont Circle is where it was. And that's when the young people had split into hippies and activists. And I remember just talking to these hippies that were there tripping that I said, you know, you can't not be involved in this. And they said, oh, yes, you can. I said, well, you can't because there's a bunch of cops chasing me and they're going to be running across here. And you got all them guys going, whoa, what have you done? So I busted some windows down there. And so they're going to be running across here and you all run with me, pick up a brick. That's what 7 days of May was the last thing. We turned cars over on turnpikes and we blocked the State Department literally with tacks. But we closed down the State Department for like a day and a half with tacks and nails.
Oh, damn.
People. Then they closed our seminary. But when I came back, there was a whole bunch of people that had been involved in the civil rights struggle, and the prisons in Alabama had changed a bunch because of the massive racist response to the civil rights movement. A whole lot more young black people were put in prison for just nothing. I mean, for stealing $20 out of a Safeway. And so the prison population had changed a lot, and they were organizing in prison.
Is that where Soledad, or has that already happened?
Yeah, the Soledad brothers were out here. Really, Attica sparked what happened in Alabama. And the prisons union out here. So I got involved in what's called the anti-repression movement. And I was the main conduit. There were 2 or 3 of us, but I was the main conduit for the legal community. We formed the Southern Action Legal Movement, which was the precursor to the Guild in the South, SLAM. And being unmarried and didn't have any kids, and I wasn't all that afraid of risk. I mean, anyway, it didn't matter. I was the point person down in Atmore, that group of union in the Alabama prisons that took over 2 prisons, Atmore and Holman, and to negotiate wages, not to negotiate other stuff, to negotiate wages for their work. They were carried out in chains and worked in fields, contracted to fields, and the state got the money. And so they formed a union, closed down 2 prisons, got snookered into a negotiation where they were just beat the hell and back in the process of taking over that. So then they all got put in segregation unit, and then they took the segregation unit. They literally had Marxist, nationalist education circles through vents in the Alabama prison segregation units.
Damn.
So they were this powerful group of prisons called the Inmates for Action, and I represented them until one of the guys that I was helping didn't go where he was supposed to, and we knew that I needed to leave. I was working on freedom training, and there was all these connections from slave time. But I got caught, or a guy I helped got caught. They'd show up at my office, and we'd tunnel out of Alabama, and I would carry stuff into the prison that the government said was of some assistance to them getting out. Because I was a lawyer, I was a young lawyer. It's my first 2 years of practicing law. Thrown out of the profession, actually. And then I went to stand out some strikes for 13 years because they really fucked up. I was sitting there saying, I'll work in the rear guard, I'll practice law. They said, you. And then I was involved in ag strikes for 13 years, ag and sweatshop strikes. But anyway, I got busted and came out here running, actually. They filed extradition papers for me, and I set up a committee. And that's when I told you I went on a lam in California.
What's a lam?
I was running. I went on the ground in California, and this prison union guy, which was my person out here, he says, we're going to take you up to Yuba River. And I said, I ain't going no river. I said, I got a southern accent, but I ain't country, and I want to go to a city, because I know I can make it in the city. I ain't going to make it in the woods. There's snakes and all kind of shit in the woods. And he said, where you from? And I said, I ain't going to do it. And they said, well, it's water. It's a river. And I said, yeah, you know, snakes can chase you out of a river. And he said, you'll like it. And I went down. We went up to Grass Valley, or I think it was Nevada City or Grass Valley. Anyway, there's a long kind of trail down to this river, and David kept saying, you're just going to be eyes bitching the whole way. I said, I ain't going to do this. You got to come back and get me. Because they had just gone through my apartment in Alabama. They turned down all of the walls in Alabama were broken down. They came out with handcuffs. And the guy that I was supposed to help, when he got to me, he didn't have handcuffs. So they were setting it up, and they'd told me in the prisons they was going to kill me. So I followed David, and I just was making him promise to come back and get me in 2 or 3 days. And he just kept smiling and smiling. We got down and just barely walked across those big old white boulders, you know, in the Nevada River. And I turned around and looked, and this completely naked woman comes bouncing up to me and says, "Hello, how you doing? Welcome." Because David knew her and set her up. She didn't have any clothes on at all, and I kept trying to look at her face. And I kept, so this is my in California.
Yeah.
The other person, one of the other people that was involved with me in Alabama went to New York. And then she asked me, she says, "Would you like some peyote?" So I turned around to David and said, "I'll stay here a while."
Yeah.
So we set up a defense committee, and I stayed there a while. Then I had to go up to the Sierra. That was kind of hard because I was camping in the snow before the Indians negotiated with me.